So I'm here with Mina Esguerra from the Philippines. Mina, you are a writer of romance and contemporary fiction, and your work has gotten international recognition. Um, in 2013, you founded a community of Filipino writers called RomanceClass, which has grown into a publishing house and an agency. And this year, you will be one of the featured speakers at the Philippines Guest of Honor program at the Frankfurt Book Fair. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, and I'm excited for our chat.
Thank you for having me. Excited to talk.
So can you start just by telling us a little bit about how your experience and journey as a writer led you to start RomanceClass in 2013, and maybe tell us a little bit about how RomanceClass works?
Okay, so yeah, my name is Mina. I'm a romance author based in the Philippines, and I am a romance reader. So that's really how it started. I read Sweet Dreams when I was a teenager. I progressed to reading category romances like Silhouette, Harlequin, Wilson Boone, and then historical romances, and then contemporary adult romances. And then as I got a bit older, I also write. So I decided one day that I should set a goal for myself to get published. And when I was thinking about so this is after college, so of course I've read all the dark stuff, the literary stuff, all the other genres. But I was like, okay, what did I want the book that I would publish or would have my name on it, what would it be? And I kind of defaulted back to what I loved reading when I started loving reading. And I wrote a romance book, and that was actually the book that got published by a Philippine publisher. So that was in 2009. That book is called My Imaginary Ex. And it's a fluffy rom-com style romance with 20 something characters, all Filipino characters set in the Philippines. And I actually I had set a goal like published by a certain age, and I had met that goal. And I thought, done. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. I can move on now. But actually then I started receiving email from readers, and it actually seemed like people were young women, young Filipino women were actually relating to what I had written. And I thought, okay, we can keep doing this. So I wrote more. I learned how to self-publish. And so that I started in 2009, at least with my first book. By 2013, I had already written and published several books. I was already self-publishing. I had learned how to publish on Amazon from the Philippines, and had started to gain an international audience for my books because I write in English, by the way. So it was kind of easy to get the books out there, and then discover that people would actually be able to read them, and figuring out who would be reading about Filipinos and their romance in the Philippines. And RomanceClass started because in January of 2013, I just wanted to try something new. And I think a lot of people did too. I said, I'll start a free romance writing class. I'll start it online. It'll be an online group. It'll be free, and I'll teach it. You can join if you want. And 100 people joined. 100 people joined this free class, and not all of them were active. There were about 50 lurkers, but 50 Filipino authors were trying to write a romance. By the end of the 6-month class, about 16 manuscripts had been finished. And within a year of that class finishing, about 12 books had been self-published eventually on Amazon. So it kind of started that way. And it's RomanceClass because when we were discussing what we were doing and just supporting each other online, we would use hashtag RomanceClass on Twitter. So it stuck. We were just literally calling it the RomanceClass, and it stuck. But yeah, so that's how it started. I just decided to try to teach some Filipino authors how, and it was from writing all the way up to publishing. And by the time that the books were actually published, we realized that, okay, wait, now we have to support all these authors and all these books. We have to buy them, we have to read them, we have to talk about them because we owe it to them. They kind of came into the journey, and we have to support them. So that's how it started.
And now it's a kind of publishing house and a media agency, right? So
So
it's grown.
technically we don't publish. Yeah, it's not exactly a publishing house. I still don't as a we've been called a publishing collective. We didn't know we didn't know what to call ourselves, but what was happening was that I would teach everybody how to self-publish, and everybody remains a self-publisher. Of course, when they finish a manuscript, what happens since then is they would probably submit the manuscript to a publisher. Maybe they would get published, maybe they would get a trad pub deal, but they still consider themselves part of the community. A lot of us, though, just because of how traditional publishing works, not everybody who submits will get a book deal. So a lot of us still self-publish, and it became like a group where everybody comes back to talk about their book. This is the book that I released. Maybe a publisher released it, maybe we self-published it. But because it's the same people like writing with the same like in the same, we're all looking for the same things essentially in the books. So the books kind of have the same feel and the kind of the same mission. So even if the publishers are different, we can all like reliably support each other still.
That sounds like such a fun and happy community to be a part of. This is a good segue because at the Frankfurt Book Fair, you're going to be on a panel talking about genre trends in the Philippines. And as you've done more with the book industry, do you think that genre writing and romance in particular gets the international attention that it deserves?
So I was okay. Whenever I'm asked that, I think I have to separate international attention into two like layers almost,
Mhm.
because definitely I know that we have attention from readers. Like I definitely feel that readers love romance. They love the genre. There's an opportunity there for readers to actually consider Filipino authors when they consider their next read. That's something we have to work on. I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and we still get called like underrated or writer or books you should be underrated, books you should be books you should be reading. Yeah, so it's hard to be in an industry for that long and still be considered like underrated or a brand or a name that people don't consider as mainstream. So
Mhm.
that's a struggle. That's definitely some, but the fact that there are readers, I feel that like we have so much support. We have I'm able to track library purchases for my books,
Mhm.
and my books are in over 95 libraries. I we do surveys online of readers, like if you're reading a romance class book or my book, like which city are you in? And we're in at least 52 countries now. We have readers in at least 52 countries. So we feel the attention, but the other layer I think of international attention is all the other things that romance as a genre gets excluded from, like awards, like the serious like serious awards, serious scholarship, serious opportunities in really the establishment, whatever that is. Because but it's not just Filipinos, I guess, that gets excluded from that. It's really the entire genre. So we don't really have award winners that are romance books, not just in our country, but in other countries as well. Like I don't know if there's a global award that covers every genre and a romance book has won it. Yeah, so just stuff like that. I think I think I think there's a lot of attention and also not enough.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I think the most promising thing is that you have so many readers and loyal fans, and usually when that's the case, the industry pays attention and follows. Hopefully that starts to happen more. Um, so you have readers in 52 countries. Can you talk a little bit about how you think your authors and your community are finding these international readers? I mean, is it social media? Is it um, you know, just advertising on Amazon, and what kind of other opportunities are there for Filipino writers to reach readers around the
I
world?
think I think it's really all well, uh we started gaining traction on social media before TikTok. So TikTok has of course changed. It has changed romance and the book industry and just the kind of books that people talk about or that are the must reads for everybody. But before that became big, we were on social media, so it's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's readers. So it's still genuine. It sounds like something everybody would say, but we don't pay for advertising usually. We don't have the budget for it. So so it's very much we rely on each other. So romance class would have like at any given time around 50 active authors. Active meaning they're writing something, so they're talking about what they're writing, or they're supporting another author whose book has come out. So that's already just with the community itself. That's me and a bunch of other people talking about each other's books, and that helps just put the word out on social media. And then those other countries, we have been fortunate to meet readers who have decided to read diversely. So these are romance readers who are intentional about their reading choices. They want to read they want to read whatever it is that they find in our books. They have decided that that's the thing, and they'll talk about it. And so yeah, so that's how we get a lot of help. It's really through readers. and and that's that's what no marketing budget can do, and that's all we can do. And I think it's good to bring everybody back to basics like that. Just uh it's really good to have a reader talk about your book. That's
Definitely. It's, I mean, such a community-driven effort, which I think just proves that you're on the right track. I mean, if you have readers who are wanting your books, then as you said, what can be better? Um, so in addition to being a writer, I understand that you're also an agent for some of the romance class books. And I think you have a focus on adaptations. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of adaptations are successful, or what projects you're working on? Is this film and television? Is it graphic novels? Is it something totally new that we haven't heard of?
so yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I think that was the next step, but also because it just so happened that I was one of my books was discovered by an LA based manager who's Filipino American, and she was looking for a project to develop by a Filipino author. She found my book on Amazon, and we just started talking. And then when she met me and she saw what I was doing, it was like she realized that there was like there are about 150 romance class books by now. So by discovering me, she realized that she suddenly had 150 projects, if the authors were willing,
Yeah.
150 books to develop into whatever else. So now we work together. I help out now because I've read all of the books. So so
That
that's,
helps.
I mean, we call it agent. Like I don't. We had to find a name for it, and the closest would be like media agent. But what I am in that process is I'm the person who has read all the books. So when a development meeting, when there's a development meeting and they say we want a book that feels like this, that has this kind of character, I'm the person who knows of the 150 books, which books those are. And I can put the deck together and I can talk about it. And yeah, so that's my role. It's still really representing the books as a reader almost. And but I'm the person who talks about the stories. And so what is happening on that front, it's been difficult actually, or exciting. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. But we've been in so many meetings. I've been doing this for I think 5 years. We've been in so many meetings. There's a lot of interest, and it's usually like something will take off in another part of the world, and we'll get requests. So do you have a book that feels like this book or something like that? And then COVID happened and everything shut down.
Yeah.
and and actually, during that time, we were talking about possibly animation, adapting books for animation instead of live action. And then because that takes time, suddenly everything, all the meetings we're in are about live action again. So um, there's a lot going on, but the cool thing is that we are uh the kind of meetings that we're in have involved Filipino creatives in these other industries. So we're meeting Filipino directors or Filipino American, Filipino Canadian, Filipino Australian. We're meeting screenwriters who are also Filipino but in the diaspora or just or here in the Philippines, but because the film industry here and the romance movie industry here is a different kind of industry from the stories that we're telling. So there we're also meeting people who kind of want to write a different kind of story. So but the most, I think the thing that's most advanced in development now is actually something that involves the Philippines and Korea. And so it's, if there's a trend that I'm seeing in the interest, it's like a regional working together of not just in the story, but in the production as well.
Well, this sounds like such a cool community-driven project, and I think it sounds like those roots are what really drive your success and the energy of your work forward. To hear more, people are going to have to join us in Frankfurt. So, Mina, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to talk to us, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week at the Frankfurt Book Fair.
Thank you. Looking forward to all of this. Yes.